Ladies, gentlemen, please take your seats. The spotlight is about to begin. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mystery Matt, and you're listening to the Mystery Matt Spotlight Podcast. This evening, we've got a Dellphi update and a description of something known as Odinism. I am joined this evening by Sarah, Colleen, and Detective Tuesday. Oh, I saw his eyebrows go up when I said it.
I love it when dogs respond.
Yeah, they're like, what?
I love it when their head tilts. Like, oh, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he definitely, like, he's even doing the eyebrow look thing where he's like trying to figure out which someone talking about me, you know.
Yeah, I know. They're funny. I love dogs.
He just wants over to rub on you.
They're so expressive. Cats just look at you like they're perpetually pissed.
So if you have not listened to the Dellphi podcast, I would probably recommend listening to that first before getting to the update because there's a fair bit to it. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to throw it over to Sarah.
Yeah, I believe we covered Dellphi a while back, and it was a two-parter, and then I think we did another update when the suspect, the person of interest, was arrested. So to recap everything for you guys quickly... Quickly. Abigail Williams was 13, and Libby German was 14, and they went out on a hike on a nice February day. On the 13th of February at the Mononhai Bridge area, there's a trail. They were dropped off earlier in the afternoon, and then they went on the bridge. Libby's father was supposed to pick them up at around 3:30, and when the girls failed to show up, he was quite concerned because Libby wasn't answering her phone. And so they started to search for the girls, and they searched pretty much all night for as long as they could. It was police, fire, the community, all banded together to look for these two girls through the night. The next morning, they started early again because they didn't find them, and then their bodies were found the next day in a wooded area underneath the 70-plus foot bridge. Libby had captured a video of a man walking towards them on the bridge and the audio of him saying "guys" down the hill. They refer to this guy as Bridge Guy. The search for the girl's killer was very intense, and then finally in October of 2022, the police made an arrest of a local man named Richard Allen. Allen worked at the local CVS pharmacy, and he resembled the one sketch of the possible offender, and evidence was piling up. He told police in an interview in 2017, right after the incident, that he had been on the bridge that day watching the fish below. The water is pretty murky, and you're 70-plus feet in the air. I don't think you're going to see any freaking fish. Right? He also owned a blue Carhartt jacket that matched or resembled the one that Bridge Guy on Libby's video was wearing. And an unspent .44 caliber bullet was found at the crime scene near the bodies, which after testing was a match to a Sig Sauer PK 2600. I think that's the right brand. I know it was Sig Sauer handgun, which he could not explain and why the bullet was there. It was an unspent cartridge, which means that it wasn't fired, but when it cycled out, it still leaves marks, like striations. And he also had confessed to the murders more than 60 times while he was in jail. To his wife, his mother on the phone, in prison at least 5 times, and to inmates and other guards. The defense has brought up a very different type of defense. Despite this, they have been trying variations of the Saudi defense, which Saudi means some other dude did it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a new terminology. Some other dude did it. Yeah.
Some other.
Did it. Okay.
Yeah. So they have landed on the Odinism. That a pagan cult that is connected to Odinism did it.
Like, that's who they're trying to blame it on now?
Yeah.
Even with all the evidence they already have against this guy and him confessing up and down.
I'm going to be honest with you. The evidence, that's only the evidence we know of. We don't know if there's much other evidence. As of right now, I said this, I think, in a TikTok video I did for our channel, that if I was to look at the evidence that we know of, if that's all that the prosecution has, I could not, as a juror, definitively prosecute Richard Allen with beyond reasonable doubt.
Well, what about all the confessions?
I'd have to hear them. Because there was stuff about his mental capacity during those times. Because he was actually, instead of being kept at the jail, the county jail, awaiting his trial, he was kept in a maximum security prison under, what's that word?
Insanity?
No,
Isolation?
isolation, yeah.
Oh.
And he lost, like, a lot of weight, and apparently he was eating his own feces, and
Oh.
I don't know if that was just a ruse to make him look insane so they can go with the insanity defense, but either way. So that kind of, you have to hear, we haven't heard the confessions. So.
Yeah, like for me, I'd want to hear them in terms of, is there coercion? What was his mental state at? How long had he been questioned for? There's so much that could be done on them.
Yeah.
Confessions are not always the most
Stable?
Yeah, they're not always the best things. Like sometimes they can be great, but other times they're a real hit and miss.
I also heard that they closed a lot of mental institutions just because it was a financial burden on the government, and they're like, well, the hospital can deal with it now.
Yeah, a lot of mental institutions in the States are now closed.
So, yeah.
Health isn't as important.
Yeah, and the other thing is many of them were in pretty deplorable shape, where it was kind of against human rights to send people there. It was pretty bad for some of them.
Well, like, if they're, like, individuals who have, like, murdered or are a danger to society, the conditions should be humane, but not necessarily, like, I don't
luxurious.
think... Yeah, I don't think they need cable TV or the internet.
I agree. The conditions need to be humane, but there's, when they cross the boundary into, like, abuse and that, especially if it's for mental health, actually truly insane people.
Yeah, like if it's a mental health prison,
Yeah.
That makes more sense than just like, people with mental illness that just are mistreated in these places. You know what I mean?
I've heard many times people talk about how the fact that, if your option is going to jail or going to a mental facility, you're better to go to jail. I've heard many people.
3 hots and a cot, right?
Yeah.
3 what and a what?
3 hots and a cot.
I don't get it.
You get 3 hot meals a day and a cot to sleep on. And
Okay.
you don't have to pay a fucking dime.
Well, there you go.
And half the time you get free education as well, and you make money because there's jobs in the prison to make you money.
Now, there is a big difference, though, between what we know as prisons here in Canada and the ones in the States. Many of the ones in the States are privately run as a business, and that's not done here in Canada. So, like, I've heard a lot about in terms of, especially for women in prison, the issues, like they can't get a hold of feminine products. They get given like 2 tampons for their whole period.
Oh.
It's bad. So
in like an hour.
many times in prison, a lot of women will learn how to make their own. They can take 1 pad and turn it into like 3 different tampons. Not sanitary, not safe at all, but it's their only option because they don't get access to these things. There are some big issues with that I've heard of. So,
Well, that's completely a different topic.
yeah.
So, moving on, because nobody wants to hear about our menstrual cycles.
I do have one question. Sorry. You said he matched one of the police sketches because there were 2, weren't there? Which one did he match? The first one or the second one?
And how are we going to be
Trick
able
question.
to? How are we going to be able to know which one's which when we're on a podcast and we can't show you number 1 or
That's
number
true.
2?
Okay.
So, they released 2 sketches. The first one they released was of a huskier looking fella with the hat and the jacket and more of a full face. And then they released another one of a younger looking fella with curly hair, clean shaven, and like normal, I guess. Not normal, clean, basically clean cut, not disheveled.
Yeah.
But the first one they released was technically the second sketch they had. So they released the second sketch.
All right. That's what you mean by trick question.
Trick question.
All right. So
the first one they had-
He matched the first released sketch. How about we'll put
Okay.
it that way? And I can put those up on the mystery
But
map.
the first release sketch was actually like the second or third
It
sketch.
was the second sketch done, yes. So I will put both sketches up labeled nicely on our Mystery Map fan club page, and I will put them up on the TikTok and the Instagram and the
Gonna
Etsy.
label them so nicely.
I will label them so hard.
So nice. So nice.
Okay, so what is Odinism? So this is their defense, right? Odinism is a pre-Christian pagan polytheistic religion. Excuse me. It honors Norse gods and goddesses like Odin, Thor, Freya, and other Norse deities.
So far, I'm on board.
Okay. So they regard nature as the true manifestation of the divine, and man is inherently good.
Makes sense.
I don't believe in the second half, but whatever. Odin is typically favored display displays Thor's hammer as their talisman, and meet in the woods for rituals that consist of drinking from a communal horn, reading ancient poetry, and occasionally engage in animal sacrifice to the gods. Animal sacrifice, not human. Labeled a pagan religion, but what you will come to hear would not fit in the way that pagans practice later on, like how they manipulate this
narrative.
Yes. Because pagans view the world as peaceful, like a peaceful place, honoring nature and the world. They feel joy and peace life, not one of sin and suffering. So, this is the defense they're going with. On paper, what I've written is the basis, but it gets worse. Like, because they do change, because Odinism itself has changed in the last 50 years, so to speak. It's become more diluted, and that's the narrative they end up going with, which I will get to.
Sorry, can I just ask one quick question? Yeah. Do you mean diluted or diluted?
What's the difference?
Diluted is it's been mixed in with many different things. Diluted means they're delusional. They're thinking weird things or something. That's where I'm sorry, I didn't know.
How about we leave that until I get into the next part, and then you can answer your own question.
Okay, all right.
Because it's a little bit of both.
Okay,
I think.
All right.
Both and neither, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I can answer that, but I can't answer that. Like, I can, but I don't know if I would be correct. So I'm going to, when I get into what they've changed it, which first I have how it affects the Dellphi case, and then I have what it's kind of turned into, like what the defense are actually going into. Okay. But yeah.
Okay, so I got a question, and it might have been mentioned in the original Dellphi case, but me being a man of certain plants, I forget a lot of things.
I like that should be your tagline, man
of certain plants.
Yes.
There we go. Not an alcoholic. I'm a man of certain plants. Were those tracks in use?
What, by trains? No.
No, they had been like decommissioned.
A lot of the rail ties were missing. It's changed now. Like, the bridge itself has been basically cemented over, so now it's actually safer. But before, you could see the below you. Okay, so Abby until that day would not cross those tracks. So before Libby took that video of Bridge Guy, she had actually posted on Snapchat Abby walking down the tracks for the first time, like as a proud moment that her friend finally made this trek, and you can see Abby looking down with her arms kind of not out, but enough for balance. And then Bridge Guy's just walking with his hands in his pocket, clearly comfortable in that area. But there was no rails to keep you up. There was like little platforms that you could step out onto.
So it sounds like the train bridge they had in Owen Sound before they tore it down because it was unsafe. But they
basically, I think it's still there, but they made it cement all the way across. Okay. So they did a lot of work on it.
Because like the reason I was wondering if it was like decommissioned or something, because like you would think that like maybe a railroad worker or something would have seen it if the train went by within the last 2 hours kind of deal, right? Like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did he see anything when they went by? Did he have to toot the whistle because someone was on the bridge?
No, it wasn't being used. It hadn't been used for a train bridge for quite some time. Okay, so how does this connect to the Dellphi case? Well, the defense team of Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rossi are claiming that Odinists are responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby. They say that the murders had a ritualistic aspect that points to a pagan cult of Odinist. We already discussed what pagans are and how they practice, so take that right out. Let's just leave pagans out of this.
Yeah, because like it's kind of an oxymoron because paganism is one religion and Odinism is a different religion. Yes. Like it's like, yeah, I'm a Catholic Buddhist.
Right.
Like what?
Pagans, like, harm none, do no harm kind of thing, right?
You're right. They're closer to, like, Gaelic and Druidism.
Okay, so all based on the preconceived notion that Odinistic symbols adorn the crime scene, which includes 1, staging of the bodies. Their necks were slashed, Libby was naked and at the bottom of a tree with 4 branches intentionally arranged on her body. Abby had been redressed, including wearing some of Libby's clothing, as well as sticks arranged in a deliberate fashion. 2, symbols found at the scene. 1 was in Libby's blood on the tree, allegedly. All this is allegedly, okay? On the tree that she rested at the bottom of, and it was in what they say is an F shape. Well, there are 2 Norse runes that resemble this. One is an F with the lines pointing downwards direction. This would be called the Azus. And Zeus means mouth of the wise god Odin, symbolizing truth, clarification, communication, and sound. The other has the lines pointing in an upward direction called the Fehu, meaning wealth, fertility, and wealth in cattle. So I don't really see how any of these
have anything to do with that.
Yes.
So one looks like, no, the sticks were there to try and conceal the bodies a little bit.
I think so.
That's what that's about.
And I think the blood smear, it just happened to be in a more like F-like pattern. I don't think it was anything intentional.
It was either part of a spray.
Like a hand or something.
Or he was cleaning off the knife and just kind of went like,
Yeah, maybe.
Just trying to clean the blade off a bit before he ran into the woods,
So the defense went even further by naming 4 individuals they believe were Odinists. One was the father of Abby's former boyfriend. He was checked out along with the others, and his alibi checked out. He was at work that day, and then he went to the gym. The defense also alleges that 2 to 6 people were involved at the scene. If there was 2 to 6 people involved, it would have been a lot more messier and a lot more disorganized. Another alleged Odinist was interviewed by law enforcement and gave his DNA. You done?
No.
Okay, hurry up.
Okay.
He gave his DNA, then allegedly asked if he would be in trouble if his spit was found on the girls.
Okay.
He what?
He gave his DNA up,
Uh-huh.
and then he asked if he would be in trouble if his spit was found on the girls. This was an alleged Odinist.
Okay, well, that might just be stupidity.
Yeah.
Because he will think that, like, they're trying to tie spit back to spit, but they're not. They're checking the DNA in the spit and tying that back to whatever other DNA they find.
maybe
That just might be
There
dumb.
is, from what I've heard, the girls were sexually assaulted.
I understand
We
that.
kind of assumed as much.
But, like, it sounds like he was asking if they were going to be comparing this spit to that spit.
And I guess
And
to
it
me, I'm
wasn't as
thinking,
simple as that.
if he hadn't been there or done anything, why would you even question what will you do if you find my spit on? Well, if I was never there, why would I even ask that question?
Right?
Well,
That
yeah,
one's odd to me. That one is very odd.
but that's what
to
I
me.
mean. If you're simple enough to think that they might compare spit to spit, you might be simple enough to ask a question like that.
Yeah, but
And by simple, I mean like possibly mentally broken. Is that a polite enough way to say it?
Yeah, but that one still just doesn't make it, because it's like, why would you ever, if you were never there, never had anything to do with it, your spit never came anywhere near them, why would you even? Yeah, one.
But that's the thing with someone who may have a mental illness. That's not something
Yeah.
that might be their thought pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 questions for you. Number
It might
one,
just be a spit
how
question.
many so-called types of cults would do human sacrifice in the middle of the day?
Well, it depends on what day. First off, because some people do things like some of the old tribes and stuff. I would imagine they would do things at high noon.
It was a Monday, February 13th, anywhere between 2:30 and
Well,
3:30.
I don't know what the solar calendar looked like, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it depends on if it had significance or not.
So on that one, to me, I don't even think that's one I could even answer, because we don't have any modern records of human sacrifices in different cults. The only thing we can go on is things done like 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, and that.
Mostly at nighttime.
Yeah, most were at nighttime on very specific festivals
Or in
during
the
the
movies,
year,
like heavy metal.
and even then, it wasn't that common. But we don't. It's not like any modern
too high
research on it. We don't have any numbers for human sacrifices that have been found.
But if you look at the modern day as we are now, even back in 2017, which is not that different from now, doing it in the middle of the day in a wooded area, which you can kind of see from this bridge. If you were walking across that bridge and you looked over at the right time and you were in the right spot, you could have seen what was going on. It's too high risk, and people have camera phones. Hence, Libby capturing said bridge guy on her phone.
Like, and especially if they're saying that there's like 6 or 7 people, I'm sorry, you're going to notice a group of 6 or 7 people right off the bridge.
Plus, you'd hear the screaming.
Especially also because it was a Monday, and at noon, most people are going to be at work.
But it was
Well,
a nice day. It was abnormally nice day.
And a normal, okay.
If it was at noon, people might even be on their lunch break.
Yeah, okay. People could be, yeah. But it's like, oh, I'm going to take my lunch break. I'm just going to go off and do a human sacrifice, and I'm going to come back and...
There were quite a few people on the trails in that
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Did that come up?
I don't know.
No. Anyways, yeah, there was quite a few people that day out there on those trails. Okay. Also, I don't know anybody dumb enough that would sacrifice 2 girls who would be considered what we would say low-risk victims, right? They don't come from nefarious backgrounds. They're not homeless.
Yeah.
And they're in a relatively moderate risk environment. So you're not going to pick 2 people who are going to be missed. You're going to target homeless people or drug addicts.
Yeah, if you're in an organized thing like that,
you're not going to be
not going to be that messy because there's not just one mind thinking about it. There's several to organize it, right?
No. The only thing I can think of is if there was, and this is a huge stretch because we don't have any records of something like this, but if there was something where they needed God, I hate to go into this one, but like virgin, prepubescent, pubescent, if they need something like that, it's the only reason why I could see them going after the young kids, but we don't even have records of that.
You would more likely still go after a high risk victim.
You would go after
a homeless child or
or
one from
orphan or something.
Even one from a family that had issues where they wouldn't be as missed as fast.
Oh, the baby's costing you too much? I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, things of that nature, because as disgusting as it sounds, it happens every fucking day.
All right, here's what might answer your question, whether it's diluted or diluted.
Okay.
As long as they're dino nuggies, I'm happy.
Oh, I'm out of dino nuggies.
Dang it.
Those weren't that good anyways.
No,
I want to find better ones.
They were kind of crummy.
Oh, shit.
Careful.
Odinism was not originally a racist-based religion.
No.
In fact, most practicing Odinists in Iceland, Denmark, etc. are not practitioners of hate and racism. This is something relatively new, going back nearly 50 years. So there is a white supremacy connection to Odinism. So the religion has splintered off into 2 variants, where one has adopted the racist views, which they call Wotanism, and one that has not adopted the racist views, which is Asatru. Sorry if I'm butchering these names.
But they're both Odinism?
But they're both Odinism. It has appealed to the white supremacists because they see it as a warrior religion and have broken free of the passive Christianity, which they see as being corrupted by outsiders, mongrelized by the, and I quote, not my words, Jewish prophet Jesus. They finally figured out that Jesus was Jewish. Congratulations, here's your badge.
He was also a carpenter.
Right? They believe Odinism is the only pure religion for white people. They believe. Not my words.
That seems to, I don't know, my first thought on that one, that really seems to stem from the Aryan beliefs.
Yes.
Back from Nazi days, where their huge fascination with Aryan religions, and they really focused on the Norse gods. Like, they really believed that was the originating, they were absolutely obsessed with Beowulf and things like that.
So
ding, ding.
Have you heard of the Nordic blondes?
Who the hell hasn't? Nordic blondes? I thought that everyone knows.
No, I mean the alien race known as the Nordic blondes.
Oh. No, I can't say I have. I probably have, but I don't remember it at the moment.
They apparently look like me, but always have blue eyes, always have blonde to white hair, always long, usually very beautiful, and very humanoid.
Wait a minute. Is that something also kind of connected to, sorry, I'm bringing in something else, connected to the whole Inner Earth stuff? Because I remember reading on the Inner Earth stuff when I was doing it.
I don't know if that specific one was tied to or not.
Okay.
But they are known to walk among us.
Okay, because I just remember reading on the Inner Earth stuff, there was a big thing about like long hair, blonde, blue eyes, things like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right.
So there's a theory that that's where we're getting like our Greek and Norse gods. It's them. If you look, Thor, usually depicted as a blonde. Odin, usually depicted as a blonde. Zeus always has white hair.
Yeah.
So, like,
Zeus,
there's things that go back and tie them together to that. So I just wanted to put that little thread in there because it's leading up to something I'm going to be going on about in a week or so.
The other thing is, though, is that blonde genetically is one of the ones that can disappear quicker than, like, brown is generally going to be more dominant. So when you get blonde, it's a little bit more rare.
Prime example, when my brother was born, he had very light, almost blonde caramel color hair.
My hair apparently when I was born was white, and my parents used to call me the man from Glad.
The one I love in my family, the dark eyes and hair are actually recessive for some reason. So when my sister had her kids, we were all we were all kind of most of us were kind of shocked that the kids turned out like blonde, blue-eyed. But I knew because I didn't have the dark hair, so I knew it was kind of recessive. I didn't have the dark hair eyes, so it was like, yeah, 2 dark hair and actually
But
have
that's
blonde.
also
And now my
why
brother's
they
dark black hair with blue eyes.
That's also why they
That was
think
great.
the Nazis were following the Aryan race, even though a lot of Germans had dark hair, dark skin, things like that. Not dark skin, but tan skin, right?
Yeah.
They're a lot darker than me because I'm an albino, but that's just another story altogether. So the reason the Nazis were so interested in that race was because it was a race of aliens that gave them the ancient technology, which made the Die Glocken that we talked about, the German bell that could teleport. And
Ooh, the bell.
did we did do that one? Did we
No,
not?
we never
We
did
haven't.
the bell.
We haven't done the
You
bell.
guys were supposed to do it.
We haven't done the bell.
It was on the
It
list.
was on the list. You guys were supposed to do it. So actually, when you said Aryans and stuff,
See what happens when you do
Aryans
research
being
and it never gets out of your head.
prominently in prisons, right?
Yeah.
Well, so has the Odinists. They sprung up in prisons as well.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so no secret that white supremacists have a long-standing history of stealing and repurposing originally peaceful symbols of paganism, including runes, in order to further their agenda, asserting
Hence the swastika.
essentially tainting their origins, especially the swastika. I can't say it right now.
Swastika.
Swastika
It depends on your dialect, but yeah.
was, I think, a symbol of luck in some East Indian cultures.
It's supposed to be peace and prosperity in Buddhism or something.
That's it. Yeah. Anyways,
Something like that.
in early 2000s, a skinhead group in Indiana said they identified as Odinists. Now, I have the name of the skinhead. I didn't write it down because I don't want to be targeted.
We don't need to.
Yes. So, while these white supremacy groups use Norse mythology because its rich history of conquering and being a warrior for their cause, a high priest of Odinism in Iceland has said now he's appalled at this use of the pagan belief to spread racial messages and hatred and tarnishing ancient pagan symbols in the religion as attribute.
But did they steal the symbols from the pagans?
Yes.
Why
Pagans is the oldest religion.
Why wouldn't they just use the Norse symbols?
Because Odinism is still a form of paganism. So paganism itself is basically like Wicca. Or Odinism is an offshoot of paganism, right?
Well, okay, no. If you go by technically, truthfully, what paganism is any religion that is not one of the organized big ones.
Right.
So anything,
It's a pagan religion.
It wouldn't be an offshoot. It is a paganism. Like paganism isn't just like Wiccan or something. No. Paganism is considered anything that is not of like the big group,
not of the mainstream,
not of the mainstream organized. So it's not an offshoot. It is actually it's paganism. It's just one type of it. Just like how with Catholics you can get the Orthodox, you can get the Roman, you can get the Greek. There's all different types. With Christians you can get Protestant, Baptist, Lutheran, whatever.
So when you actually say, "Yeah, I'm pagan," you're not actually being specific enough.
No,
yeah,
because I feel like I kind of grab a little bit from different pagan.
Yeah, so Odinism is pagan. It's just not. It's a type of paganism, so it's not an offshoot.
Anyway, so Richard Allen has no links to Odinism or any religious cult. We basically did our discussion through this whole thing, throwing me right off, but that's okay.
It's good for you.
I know. So the prosecution wants Odinism thrown out before trial. So, prosecutor Nicholas McClelland has filed a motion listing a dozen items that the defense should not be allowed to mention, comment on, or make any reference to in any way during the trial. Quote, before any such evidence may be permitted, the defense must show some connection between the third party and the crime. Further, it must be a direct connection based on admissible evidence and not founded on hearsay, speculation, rumors, conjectures, or theory. End quote. That's prosecutor McClelland.
Theory would be the big one.
Yes. McClelland has asked Judge Francis Gall to bar the defense from mentioning Odinism, the names of alleged Odinists, Keegan Klein and Ron Logan, as well as any reference to any investigation by a former Rushville, Indiana police chief who looked into these Rushville men who are connected to Odinism, allegedly, don't come for me. McClelland sought to retrieve the personnel records of this former chief of police that may raise credibility issues, which Judge Gall granted. In a very recent 3-day hearing, this is like last week, by the way, the prosecution said if the defense can show evidence and prove their Odinism testimony during this hearing, then go right ahead. If not, then it should not be admissible at trial. The prosecution says there is no such direct evidence that is admissible. Is this a good idea for prosecution to get the Odinism theory suppressed, or should they allow the defense to go forward and maybe fall on their face?
Facts only.
I agree. I think it actually is a good request by the prosecutor that unless you can actually show correlation and that there is a connection and that there is actually evidence, there should be no reason why it's brought in. Like it's just at this point now we don't know what all the evidence is. If they can absolutely show evidence showing that yes, there is this, it's we can tie this, we can tie this, we can tie this, we've got these dates, we've got this information. Sure, allow it in. It's allowable to me. But unless you can prove and make it something other than just a theory, it shouldn't be allowed in. It's
I agree. But I think so Nancy Grace was kind of talking about the same thing, right? And she said that she thinks that the prosecution should allow this in because it's going to make the defense look stupid when they can't prove their point. And that might actually favor the prosecution. Agree to disagree?
I would say don't muddy the waters with bullshit. Get to the point. You have people's lives at stake. You know, when you're fucking with someone's livelihood, like whoever gets convicted of it, which sounds like this current guy is going to be, especially since he's acting like a damn fool in prison already. Mm-hmm. Let his trial be a clean one. Don't muddy the waters with this extra crap because you've got some agenda against this religious group. If there's no evidence whatsoever, let it go. Yeah. If there is evidence, state what that is so that the entire case isn't just based around this silly idea this guy had.
Now, the other thing on that one that gets me is the idea of, let them put it in so that the jury can see how stupid they are. You're assuming that the jury is all going to be intelligent, rational people, which is not the case.
Not a high profile like this.
Exactly. It's the chances that there are going to be jury members who are like, yeah, I believe that. That's a cool theory. Yeah, I absolutely go for that. That could very well happen.
Like we're in the age of the internet. There's all kinds of crazy crap you read online.
And,
so be able to believe something like that would
people are more likely to believe the crap they see posted on their Facebook wall than the stuff talked about by the experts. They're more likely to believe the fake stuff. So to me, the idea of, the jury's just going to laugh them out. I would not count on that. I mean, I absolutely would not count on that. Like, you don't know what their IQs are, all that shit, so.
I actually agree. I think I agree with both of your points. Why muddy the waters? Yes, I think the defense would fall on their face, but the jury, I'm sorry, if they bring it up as a jury member, I'd probably go, okay, whatever, right? I'm going to laugh it off, but you're right. Other jury members might not. And
if they want to do an appeal afterwards?
Yeah, it'll be a Brady violation.
What's a Brady violation?
I'm not sure how to explain it, but it could be listed under a Brady violation that the defense attorneys did not do their due diligence to get him the proper counsel. Because they use this theory, they bring up this theory in court, and it falls flat on the face, and he gets convicted. His appellate lawyers could bring it up and saying that there was
maybe they fucked up because they brought this bullshit in.
Yes, right. Yep. So the prosecution's mind is, unless you can present admissible physical evidence to this case, there's nothing here but theory. And that's exactly what this is. It's a theory. It's a laughable theory when you think about it. It's laughable.
Well, I wouldn't say it's laughable until I saw what the evidence is. For all I know, I do not know what the defense has for evidence. At this point, it does seem a laughable theory. But without any evidence actually being put forward, maybe they do have something. I don't know.
Show any at this
and so they haven't shown any yet. Now, is the thing where the prosecutor asked for the information, is that still going on, or has that ended and they didn't show anything?
I believe that's ended. It was a 3-day hearing, like preliminary hearing, and the court, the trial is set for October, and it's supposed to go to like mid to end November, and if they had the evidence, why wouldn't they take him up? Hey, yeah, I've got the fucking evidence. Here it is. Like, to
Well,
me,
like-
it's like I don't think they have the stuff to back it up other than just almost Dale Griffiths-like experts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
So, like,
So
people
for one,
saying, oh, this looks like this. I mean, if you're fucking dead bodies laying in the woods, you're going to have twigs and branches over you no
Yeah.
matter what. Wind, stuff falling off the things, people intentionally putting them. They might look like they're deliberately arranged, but it's probably not.
But I mean, it very well could be deliberately arranged, but the idea is what was the reason behind it? If
Yeah.
the reason was we're trying to create a ritual, or was the reason we want to hide the body?
yeah,
Like, honestly, it wouldn't look that much
we
different.
want them
And
to look pretty
we-
like snowmen.
We are, as humans, we look for patterns in something. So somebody, let's say, has some blood on their hands and decides to wipe it on a tree in just a few different strokes. Well, we might look at it and see a weird runic symbol that looks like an F, but it was actually just somebody just wiping their hand.
Yeah.
We are programmed to see patterns and to look for things which are familiar. That is part of human experience.
But there is overreaching.
Absolutely.
The few things that I do not agree with is that I think that they should bring up Keegan Kline and Ron Logan, just because Colleen probably doesn't have a clue who these two people are. So Ron Logan owns the property that the girls' bodies were found on, and he was interviewed by news reporters and stuff, and even police. His property was searched. He's now since deceased. He is a viable suspect in my mind. He lied about where he was that day. He violated his probation because he was driving without a license.
Yeah, but Buddy's in jail eating his own poop.
Yes, allegedly.
So if you're faking being insane or actually insane and eating your own poop, either way, this gentleman should probably be helped, either incarcerated or otherwise hospitalized so that he's not a danger.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't realize that that's not cool,
The defense did write in
then what else doesn't he know?
did ask for a motion for him to be removed from the prison, the high maximum security prison, and put into county jail, and Judge Gall did grant it, so he has been moved.
No.
A little late, though, in my opinion.
It's a new judge, is it?
No.
Okay, so this is the same judge that they've had throughout the because I remember there was a motion trying to switch the judge at one
Yeah,
point.
that got denied.
Okay, it got denied. All right, okay.
So she's still on it.
It really does swing good.
So Keegan Kline was the online catfisher who went by the name Anthony Schatz and posted pictures of him as a young, hot, sexy thing when he was a big fat plug of a guy living in his dad's basement, who was luring young girls to places so that he could meet up with them. And allegedly Libby did have contact with this so-called Anthony Schatz profile, but they haven't been able to link him to this.
Also mentioned in the previous podcast.
Yes. So both Ron Logan and Keegan Kline were, I think his name is Keegan Kline, whatever, who fucking cares what his name is. He's a gross fucker. Both of them were mentioned in the first podcast. I think episode 2 when I was talking about suspects. But yeah, I think they should be brought up. I think bringing up former suspects that actually were investigated thoroughly.
I would bring up former suspects before I would bring in random Odinism.
So would I.
But for the defense, if they bring up suspects that have already been looked at, they have the risk of the prosecution coming in and saying, no, this person, we cleared this person, all this, and making it look like even more like their client might have done it. So I could see why the defense might not bring it up because it could really backfire.
But there's ones who want to bring it up.
The defense wants to bring it up.
Prosecution does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Because I would think to me that would be a concern for defense that if I bring this up and prosecution shoots this down and shows that these people couldn't have done it, then that makes my client even more suspect.
But if you show that the ones that were previously investigated and were cleared, if you show evidence that they probably should not have been cleared, then you're not only getting your client off the hook because now you're proving that these guys actually did it. That's a whole other thing. That's a lawyer that's worth his buck right there.
The goal of the defense is to argue the case to prove that there's doubt, while the prosecution's job is to argue the case to prove beyond reasonable doubt of this person's guilt.
But if you can prove that somebody else did it,
The Saudi defense.
yeah, but
but actually prove it.
Yeah, but without the Odinism crap.
Yeah.
Like a group of 7 people going down there, hey, how are you? No.
Well, that was probably not the right approach
No.
that you just did, but
I don't know how they would chant in Norse.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be some kind of...
That's
I
not
have
either.
no idea.
We're just making so many racial babies right now.
It'd be Gaelic, I would think.
No, that's Irish. It's not even the same
Oh, no.
thing.
It's a Germanic language.
Right.
Yeah, it's a Germanic one. Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else entirely.
And I'm sorry, I suck with details. I apologize on this one. The location of it, again, Dellphi, Indiana. Okay. I just was curious in terms of what the religious background of the area is like, whether or not you're dealing with a lot of Christians or that.
Oddly enough, when I do researches on cases, a lot of the times it does come up, oh, you know, like with West Memphis, it came up that it was a very Christian-based town. This one didn't have that. I didn't have any information what the majority of the religion is. I'm going to assume that it would be more Christian-based. It's not Southern, so you're not looking at Baptist or anything like that. Like, probably more Christian-based. But I don't think, like, Bible-thumping type. You know what I mean?
Like, not Mormon territory?
Yeah, definitely not Mormon territory. Like, not extremist. Like, people who go to church on Sunday but drink their asses off Saturday night.
Yeah, or Monday,
go to
Tuesday,
the races
Wednesday.
after church, or go to the casino after church. Like, that kind of people, you know?
Yeah.
Probably much like your family, like, you know, like you believe, like you guys, you guys have went church going people on occasions, but weren't like.
It's in the background.
It's in the background.
I've been to church.
Yeah, I've been to church too, but it was not for me.
I've been to, it was a Christian church, but I was Protestant. I've been to.
Christian.
That's Christian. It's just
I
an
know,
offshoot.
but like it was obvious that I was Protestant.
Was it one of those hands in the airs?
It was, yes.
Oh, that's a born again Christian.
Or Baptist.
Well, it was actually a youth group.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Most likely born again.
So, it was weird because, like,
Gotta watch those.
the church itself wasn't known to be a Protestant church. It was a Christian church. But yet, that's the church we went to, even though we were Protestant. It was...
Well, how I understand it is like, so there's, in Christianity, you've got Catholic and then you have Protestant. And Protestant encompasses all the others. Is like Anglican, Presbyterian, United.
Falls under Catholic.
Is Anglican? I thought it fell under Protestant. Okay.
It's the ugly stepchild of Catholicism.
Yeah,
I know that 'cause my
it's.
dad's Anglican.
But Anglican was created when Henry VIII split from the Catholic Church and was excommunicated.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's like most of the Protestant ones. That's like Protestant is like an all-encompassing term for, but it's all Christian. Yeah, there's tons underneath it. So
Yeah, but I was actually baptized Protestant.
yeah, well, same here. I was United Church. So
Nothing.
yeah,
So, Sarah's going to burn. Anyway,
I think we already established that.
oh, years ago. I'll send you some Tens lotion.
I can buy holy water online. Don't worry.
Oh, sweet.
I actually need it in case we get a demon or something.
You should probably fill the pool with that thing.
Fuck no. At $19.99 a bottle? No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
really?
Yeah, on Amazon.
Get an Olympic-sized swimming pool full of holy water.
How would you know it's actually?
I don't know.
That's the funny thing. Is there?
Oh, I knew a joke that went.
Is there
that
like
way.
some priest out there who's like, I can make some money on the side, dude?
Most likely.
You know?
How many of them are fucking skeevy son of a bitches, right? Touch children and shit. Anyways, that's a whole different conversation. Oh fuck, what was I gonna say? So, but this case being super high profile, it's gonna be hard to find juries that aren't familiar with it.
That's like saying, but like with the Odin is so one they're the guy that they're actually going for right now, like seriously. He says he's not religious of any kind.
Oh, what? Richard Allen?
The one that was eating his own poop allegedly.
That doesn't say anything about his religious background, but they just said that he has no links to Odinism or a religious cult.
Okay, so that right there would remove Odinism from this trial.
Essentially, yeah, they can't prove anybody else.
Yeah, you would have to focus on this guy alone. So, like, to even think of bringing Odinism into it would be like, oh yeah, I saw Batman. You know, that's how random it is.
Yeah,
Like
and the police have already, like, before Richard Allen was even arrested, did go down the Odinism rabbit hole and did question the 4 people that the defense wants to bring up who are in connection of Odinism. They've already cleared them, other than the weird guy who said, if I am I in trouble if my spit's found on the girls. Like, I'm assuming he's cleared relatively, but that's just a stupid response, as we've already discussed.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think that guy had all of his faculties.
He probably didn't have all his marbles. But because the case, like, it was so high profile that we heard about it up here.
Yeah.
And really the only cases I ever hear about on mainstream TV are ones like that. Otherwise I have to go looking for cases in the States.
Nowadays with the internet, if it's an interesting enough case, it'll hit the
up.
internet and away it goes. And then the other mainstream media sites and TV shows and stuff like that will pick it up from there. Because they're all connected. Like,
Yeah.
I even went and saw a newspaper in Owen Sound. They're like, it was in the mid to early 90s. And they were showing us how they already had all the different newspapers connected through the internet. So that whenever a story hit and they needed to fit like a small little headline in, they could actually go to a web page, see what story they want, bring it over, have someone quickly rewrite it so it's not plagiarism, or they'll even put the credits in. This came from the paper.
They'll usually just put Associated Press.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
But we're losing sight of what the main goal of this whole thing is. We need justice for these 2 girls and their families.
Well, yeah.
And I think the one thing that really pissed me off in this case early on, and I don't know if I probably have mentioned it, probably on the live streams on Facebook, how the media was so desperate for details
Yeah.
early on, before Richard Allen was even arrested, that they demanded that the evidence be released publicly. They demanded that these documents and sealed warrants and like stuff like that to be unsealed.
Yeah.
But by doing that, they're not understanding, because they just want the story. They don't give a shit about the case.
Oh, none of them do.
They just want the story. The
It's
main goal.
about the dollar bill. You know?
Yeah, exactly, the vultures. And it's weird because we're media too, right? We're a form of media.
We are, but we don't make any money.
We don't. Ethnically speaking, I think we're one of the best podcasts out there for the fact that, yes, we cover these true crime. We don't make money off of any of them. And even if we did, we were all in agreement that we would donate that money to, like, to have sexual assault kits that are backlogged and stuff to be processed.
We're actually getting bracelets for Andy because they mean something
I'm hoping
to
to,
us.
yeah, I'm working on that.
We're hoping to, but
But that case resonated with us. This case resonated with me, and I take it very personally. So also, I am smart enough to know that the understanding of that, when law enforcement keeps evidence close to the vest, they're doing so because they might need the person who did it to release information that they didn't already previously know, like that wasn't previously released in the media, which is called guilt knowledge. As soon as somebody says something like, oh yeah, you know, her throat was slit, and that wasn't ever put out publicly, and that was the way they were killed, that's guilt knowledge, because only the killer would have that knowledge.
But now it's all over the place.
But now it's all over the place.
There used to be pretty much a code of ethics among journalists that there were
dead.
things they couldn't divulge, things they couldn't talk about because,
Clark Kent quit.
well, the thing is what happened. Internet came along, and it's now everyone's trying to scramble to get that first story because they know it could easily break on the internet. All it takes is one little thing. So the old rules got lost with that. The biggest thing I think of with this one is that, as for what we know right now, to me, there is not enough that could convince me without a reasonable doubt as a jury.
I agree.
But I'm still, it's like, we don't have all the information. It hasn't been released yet. And that is perfectly fine. That is okay.
We don't need to know squat.
Yeah.
Really.
We we don't ever need to know squat. The main thing is yeah, it's nice to know, but there's no reason why we need to. If it would be rather be kept private for the privacy of the victims and the victim's family, that is perfectly fine.
Or if you want to make media out of it, wait until the trial is over.
Yeah.
Then do your coverage of the trial.
But even like if the victim's
Have
family,
it recorded if it needs to be. Have it, the stenographer typing away. That is the right thing. Right?
yeah.
Nice.
But if their families don't want certain things to come out because they're afraid it's gonna, I don't want people knowing that about my daughter. I don't want people to know that. I think that is a perfectly reasonable request. There's no
But if
reason
you've
why the
killed
public needs
somebody,
to
I'm
know.
sorry you don't get that. Right.
Exactly. For the person convicted, I guess where my worry is I don't want a wrongful conviction. I want the right person convicted.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't want the wrong person to go to jail.
Just because he eats his poo doesn't mean he cut a girl.
As Derek Levasseur would say, I'd rather one guilty person go free than 10 non-guilty people be locked up.
Well, when I was in high school, the teacher decided she was going to come at I can't say it.
Criminology?
Thank you. From a different perspective. And she spent an entire month showing us 3 different cases where someone was wrongfully convicted, spent a life sentence, got released, proved their innocence, and the government and everybody else did nothing for them.
Happens a lot.
Their life was
Look
destroyed.
at the fucking West Memphis 3 case.
Like, I'm sorry.
We've got a few major cases here in Canada of that.
That's what I'm saying. If you fucked up that bad, you owe that person the best life they could ever have.
But the media circus...
Especially if you steal years, because you can't get them back.
But the media circus on murder cases, especially high-profile ones, and we're seeing it right now in the Idaho 4 case, which I will be covering in September with Nancy. People just want the deets. They want the details. They want the nitty-gritty. And I agree with Colleen, especially for this case, because it's involving minors.
Yeah.
They should be protected at all costs.
Whenever it involves children, it fucking breaks my heart.
You know, Idaho 4, yes, they were young, but they were also in their 20s. They're not minors. And it's not that it's not different. I don't want to know everything that happened to them. I already know a lot that happened to these 4 people in Idaho, but I don't want to know how these 2 girls were murdered. I don't really want to know that they were sexually assaulted. I had just assumed, because what predator would take 2 small girls just for the sake of killing them without a sexual motive?
Undress them and then redress the other one with the other. Yeah.
So there's definitely a sexual motive. And with most murders, especially with stabbing or knives, it's usually a sexual motive.
Yeah.
My thing is how did, and this is my question. This is what the defense should be saying. How did Richard Allen, who has no record prior of any violent history, just all of a sudden double homicide to 2 small girls?
Well, it could be the snapping point. You don't know. You
Usually
can't tell.
A
lead up to?
Yeah, like peeping
but it could be
sexual assaults. And
it could be as simple as he was walking through the woods. He bumped his head on the tree that was over there. Whatever that happened there set off this chain reaction in his brain. He decided he was killing today. That's as simple as, like, you know, who's to say, right? We can't say. No one knows.
Or it could even be that maybe there was a history of peeping or this or whatever, but he was never caught.
Yeah, and he was never caught.
You know,
Yeah.
so...
I mean, yeah, there's always that. But like Colleen said, based on the evidence that we are aware of,
Yeah.
if that is what the prosecution is going to court with, just what we know of, to me, they do not have enough.
No, probably not.
And I will be covering this case probably on Facebook Live when it goes
Well, it
to
sounds
trial.
like it's not over. It sounds like they need a new suspect entirely.
I think Odinism theory needs to be thrown out. I think it has to be.
I don't think it needs to be part of this trial.
Unless they can produce evidence.
If this trial fails, and then they want to start a new trial on Odinism and its members because it seems to line up to that better, okay, that's a new trial.
There's
Not
also
on
another
this
possibility that this gets
thrown out.
no, not thrown out. Another
Delay?
delay. Yeah,
Reprieve.
because it was supposed to go on May. Remember, I was all set to do all those Facebook Lives for those 3 weeks on this case, and it got thrown out. And then I'm like, okay, now what? So I will be covering the case as best as I can. I believe it's not going to be televised. It's not going, like, the media is not allowed in there.
Good.
With like phones and laptops. They have to bring pad of paper and do it the old school way.
Yeah, I think everything should just be like left up to the professionals, and people should stop bringing in wild theories.
Yes.
Because that's just enough. But anyway, we're at 53 minutes.
Well,
so.
I'm just going to end it with this then. My thoughts are with the families of the victims because...
Well, that's all that
you know,
can be right now.
With
all that
yeah,
bullshit.
Like, I know Kelsey German, she had a baby and she got married without her sister by her side, and I know that was hard on her.
Like, say the defense proves it wasn't Richard Allen, right? The Odinism stuff, whatever, they can do with what they will. The family still is at unease because they don't know who did this to their children, regardless.
And even if Richard Allen did do it and still gets acquitted, they can't retry him.
Yeah.
I hope for the family's sake that this gives them some help and some closure. And I know every delay,
But there has to be
hell.
justice.
Exactly. There's got to be justice. I hope that there is some closure for them in terms of that. If this is able to be proven that he did do it, that they get justice, or if it's proven that he didn't, I hope they keep searching. Yeah.
Because all in all, it comes down to two people.
Yeah.
Abby and Libby.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and we shall see you next week. Have a good one.